Hey everyone out there, and for our first video we're going to talk about the question, should cannabis be legal? So the first question actually would be, why was it even made illegal, since it has been used largely for medical as well as recreational purposes for many years. Even thousands of years ago it was used for medical purposes. But just not recreational and medical purposes, cannabis has also been used widely to produce paper, clothes and many more. So the ban of cannabis products, marijuana, paper and everything else, it all began just over 100 years ago and started in Jamaica actually. Yes, you heard right, Jamaica, in the Western Hemisphere actually. So it was in 1913 when Jamaica became the first country in the Western Hemisphere to ban cannabis products all over the place. And Canada actually followed just 10 years later in 1923, even before the United States. So actually the country that pushed the global prohibition of cannabis the most was actually the US. So beginning in the 1930s, they started a campaign against cannabis. So the US just recently ended the prohibition of alcohol, which took effect from 1920 to 1933. But after the legalization, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics needed a new purpose for the employees. So the first commissioner at that time of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was actually Harry Anslinger, who declared marijuana as being very dangerous. So for example, Anslinger said that marijuana use could lead actually to insanity or even sexual lust that you can't control even, which of course has been debunked in various studies even back then. Finally, in 1961, he made progress with the worldwide prohibition of cannabis in front of the UN. Of course, the use of cannabis isn't completely risk-free. For example, it could lead to a mental addiction as well as panic attacks and psychosis, but also memory loss and lung problems. These risks get especially amplified by minors, whose brains still develop. But when talking about the lung problems, this can actually be greatly reduced when not smoking it, for example using a vaporizer or baking. So as already mentioned before in the video, cannabis has used for hundreds and even thousands of years in the past to use it medically. So for example, the first US president, George Washington, used cannabis to reduce his teeth pain. And besides this, it's also widely used for cancer patients during chemotherapy, but also mental and nervous illnesses like PTSD, epilepsy and Parkinson. So the positive effects for medical cannabis are caused due to the THC, which also stands for tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the main psychoactive ingredient of cannabis, as well as the CBD, which is the second largest ingredient of cannabis, which is also called cannabidiol. So CBD is the abbreviation, and CBD is non-psychoactive. So yeah, there are some risks when consuming cannabis, but there are many advantages for the legalization as well. So these are the following. So firstly, the prohibition of cannabis doesn't prevent people from consuming it. So in fact, 28% of the 12th graders in the US have consumed marijuana in the past month, they say. So secondly, taxing cannabis products leads to new revenue sources and investment opportunities. For example, in Canada, only 5.5 months after the legalization of cannabis, the state made more than 186 million Canadian dollars tax money. So thirdly, the legalization of cannabis leads to a guarantee of quality of the product. So for example, in illegal states in the US, as well as in countries where cannabis is still illegal, the consumer really doesn't know what's inside the product, and that's very dangerous because it could be tampered with many very dangerous things. So the fourth advantage is actually pretty simple. Cannabis is just less harmful than alcohol. So for example, in Germany, where this channel is from, approximately 74,000 people die every year from alcohol. And in the US, this number is even higher. There are 88,000 people who die approximately every year from alcohol, whereas cannabis has 0 deaths worldwide. So another important aspect is the legalization would relieve the authorities. For example, the police wouldn't have to pursue as many people who are actually not harmful to anybody. So lastly, cannabis isn't a gateway drug. Yes, it's right, many people who began consuming hard drugs also used marijuana before, but they also consumed alcohol and tobacco. So this concept of a gateway drug just isn't realistic. So everyone out there, this was our first video. So what do you guys think? Should cannabis be really legal or should it be not? Let us know down in the comments and subscribe if you want. See you next time. Bye.